You reach the platform as the train glides away, its red tail lights shrinking beyond the tunnel, 2 minutes before you arrive. Your chest tightens, not because the next train is impossible, but because you can still see the version where you made it. Now imagine arriving an hour late, after the platform has emptied and the rain has started. The missed train feels different, doesn't it? Both outcomes leave you waiting, yet the 2-minute miss creates a tiny, stubborn film in your head. If only I had run. That film is a counterfactual, an alternative past your mind builds from fragments of reality, then compares against what actually happened to you. Psychologists call the better imagined outcome an upward counterfactual. It often brings regret because the gap between reality and possibility suddenly feels personal. A worse imagined outcome runs downward instead. I could have missed the whole trip. That comparison can create relief, even when nothing improved. Nearness matters because it supplies detail. 2 minutes lets you picture shoes on stairs, a closing door, and decision that might change everything. An hour offers less of a scene. The cause may be traffic, sleep, weather, or planning. The alternate timeline blurs before it accuses. This is not proof that close outcomes matter more in the world. It shows that closeness changes the story available to the person. In 1995, Victoria Medvec, Scott Mady, and Thomas Gilovich examined this strange emotional arithmetic among athletes on the Olympic podium after competition ended. They studied video footage and interviews from the 1992 Games, asking a pointed question: who looked happier, silver medalists or bronze medalists afterward? Objectively, silver is closer to gold. But silver places an athlete beside the imagined victory, while bronze sits beside an imagined fourth place. The researchers documented a reversal. Bronze medalists often appeared more satisfied. Their comparison ran downward, toward leaving the stadium empty-handed, not upward toward gold. Same ceremony, same medal table, different counterfactual neighbor. The psychology did not follow rank alone, it followed the nearest imaginable outcome in mind. That same logic becomes unusually visible at a slot machine. 3 reels stop, and 2 matching symbols seem to promise a third. A near miss pays nothing. The account balance changes as it would after a clear miss, yet the loss can feel charged with possibility anyway. In 2009, Lou Clark and colleagues tested these moments using a laboratory slot machine task, rather than relying only on gamblers' retrospective stories afterward. Participants rated near misses as less pleasant than full misses. Still, a near miss could increase their desire to keep playing. A troubling combination there. The motivational effect depended on perceived control. It emerged when people personally selected the gamble rather than when a computer selected it instead. That distinction matters. A near miss may feel like feedback about your skill only when your own choice seems woven into the outcome somehow. The machine has not revealed a trajectory. Each spin remains governed by its probabilities, but the almost win makes randomness look briefly like progress. Clark's team also observed activity in brain regions associated with reward processing during near misses, though that does not make a near miss a win. The laboratory case is clean because money gives the outcome a sharp boundary. In ordinary life, boundaries may be messier, negotiated and delayed. Still, you recognize the structure elsewhere. An exam score 1 point below a threshold, a job offer narrowly lost, a message never sent. These events do not merely disappoint. They invite editing. Your mind finds the last revision, the root, the sentence you could have spoken. Wu and colleagues tested this editing process directly in 2017, using Wheel of Fortune games that could land near jackpots, penalties, or emotionally neutral spaces. Across one experiment with 51 participants and another with 104, identical neutral outcomes acquired different emotional meanings from their neighboring wheel spaces there. A neutral stop near a jackpot reduced perceived luck. A neutral stop near a major penalty increased it, although neither outcome changed. Physical closeness was not the whole story. Stopping just before versus just after mattered, suggesting people simulated distinct routes through the alternate outcome. The wheel seems to whisper a direction, almost there, or thankfully not there. Yet its positions are not moral verdicts on you. whose results support a counterfactual account. We respond not simply to distance, but to the particular better or worse event distance makes imaginable. That helps explain why cutoffs feel so loaded. 99 and 100 may differ by 1 unit, but a line turns them into categories. The line may be an admissions threshold, a qualifying time, a performance review, or the number that turns a day into bad news. Once a cutoff appears, proximity can masquerade as essence. You may feel almost admitted, almost promoted, almost chosen, as if distance reveals destiny. Sometimes closeness does carry useful information. A runner missing qualification by seconds may identify a trainable margin, a pacing decision, or recoverable weakness. But a close result can also hide enormous uncertainty. Different judges, one awkward question, weather, timing, or chance may have supplied that margin. In Liu's 2024 card task study, 98 adults made choices, reported their confidence, and then faced outcomes that could invite regret or relief afterward. Higher confidence predicted more regret after unfavorable outcomes. It also predicted less relief after favorable ones, reshaping how the same results felt afterward. Confidence may raise the brightness of the alternate world. When you expected success, the outcome you nearly had can feel concrete and deserved. This does not mean confidence causes every painful reaction. The study used a particular card task, and confidence outside laboratories comes with history. Yet it captures a familiar moment. You leave an interview convinced it went well, receive a rejection that seems to revise the room. Someone else expected little and receives the same rejection. They may still hurt, but their mind has less certainty to argue with afterward. The difference is not weakness or resilience in any simple sense. It is the architecture of comparison, built before the result arrives at all. Near misses are therefore double-edged. They can intensify disappointment, but they can also preserve motivation by making one actionable change seem visible and reachable. When the if only arrives, begin with an almost clinical separation. Name the factual outcome, then name the alternate outcome your mind is projecting. Missing the train is factual. Catching it after running faster is a simulation. The simulation can teach you, but it cannot become evidence. Ask, was there a controllable action before the outcome? If yes, extract it precisely. If no, avoid turning randomness into character judgment afterward. For an exam, that might mean reviewing one weak concept. For a missed train, it might mean leaving earlier, not replaying every staircase. For an opportunity with no clear lever, the lesson may be smaller. Disappointment is real, but the imagined win is not owed. This is especially important in gambling. A near miss is a loss with dramatic staging, not a forecast that the next spin is warmer. If gambling feels difficult to stop, consider stepping away, limiting access, or consulting a qualified local support service. Near misses can exploit learning systems. At work, resist treating a narrow rejection as proof that you were almost guaranteed the role. Hiring decisions contain hidden comparisons you cannot see. At the same time, do not dismiss a near miss. It may identify a capability worth developing if feedback points toward a specific gap. One useful practice is to write 2 sentences, what happened and what nearly happened. Keeping them separate may soften the certainty between them. Then add a 3rd sentence only when it leads to action. Next time, I will prepare earlier, ask this question, or leave sooner. That small boundary respects the emotion without appointing it as a historian. Regret can be information. It is not necessarily an accurate reconstruction. Why does this story feel so persuasive? Because human attention likes edges. A finish line, a deadline, and a closing door concentrate possibility. Far from the edge, outcomes blend into a broad category called not this time. Near the edge, each detail acquires a starring role. Research does not say that every close loss motivates. The Clark findings depended on choice, and real-world stakes bring context laboratories cannot reproduce. Nor does a close outcome measure worth. Cutoffs are often tools for decisions, but crude as summaries of talent, effort, or future potential. If you are evaluating someone else, consider widening the frame. Ask about process, alternatives, and constraints before assigning meaning to a narrow margin. And when you tell your own story, notice the grammar. Almost can describe distance, but it can quietly turn a single outcome into identity. You are not almost a worthwhile person, softly, almost competent, or almost lovable. You encountered one boundary under one particular set of conditions. That distinction may not erase regret. It can, however, move regret from a verdict about you toward a question about circumstances and choices. If careful psychology helps you look twice at moments, consider subscribing. We make room here for questions that do not have easy answers. Before a close decision, plan for the story afterward. Decide which evidence would change your next attempt, then deliberately ignore the rest entirely. For many outcomes, the better question is not how close was I? It is, what does this result reliably tell me, if anything useful? This question makes room for both truths. You can feel the sting of almost, while refusing to mistake its vividness for a prediction. The train is gone, you may catch the next one or you may not. Either way, the first train has become a story. The question is whether the story remains a loop, showing you the same closing door, or becomes a map with one useful mark. Nearness gives the imagination raw material. It does not grant the imagination authority over probability, merit, or the full meaning of your life. Perhaps the gentlest reframe is this: almost is not a place you live. It is a comparison your mind visits, then leaves.